It's 5:50 on a Monday morning, and you're standing in a hardware store parking lot in work boots that have been resoled twice. The laces are the original ones from 6 years ago. Your truck is a 2011 Toyota Tacoma with 187,000 miles on it, paid off since your 27th birthday. The coffee in your hand cost you 11 cents to make. Your checking account has $1,840 in it, which is exactly how much you keep there on purpose. And if someone opened your brokerage account this morning, they would find $842,000 sitting quietly inside it. Nobody in this parking lot would guess that number. Not the guy in the Ram, 2,500 payment sticker still on the window. Not the woman getting a $7 latte before her shift. And that's not an accident. That's the result of a decision you made 14 years ago on a Tuesday night that nobody, including you at the time, thought was a big deal. This is the story of how you got from $1,840 in checking at 23 to $842,000 without a single person you know finding out, and what it actually cost you to get there. You're 23. You make $38,000 a year installing HVAC systems for a small contractor outside Columbus. Rent on your apartment is $875. After bills, you usually have somewhere between $150 and $300 left over, and you genuinely couldn't tell someone where it went. Your Uncle Ray is the reason anything changes. Ray isn't the uncle anyone brags about. He wears the same canvas jacket every winter. He drives a truck that's older than you are. He fixes his own water heater instead of calling someone. When the family goes out to eat, Ray always insists on paying, and he always pays in cash, and he never once looks impressed with himself doing it. You ask him one Thanksgiving why he never upgraded anything, the truck, the house, any of it, since everyone in the family quietly assumes he's done fine for himself. People spend money to look rich, he says, not looking up from his plate. Rich people spend money to stay rich. Only one of those is actually a decision. You don't think much of it. It's just something your uncle says between bites of turkey. 3 weeks later, you're lying in bed scrolling your banking app for no reason. And you actually stop and look at the number, not glance. Look, $310 in checking. Rent is due in 9 days. You scroll back through the last month and count $260 in food delivery apps alone. Not one bad decision, 19 small ones, none memorable enough to feel bad about individually. You don't overhaul anything that night. You do one thing. You open your bank's app and set up an automatic transfer. $60 out of every paycheck, moved into an index fund the day it lands, before you can see the number, and decide it belongs to something else. You don't decide to become disciplined. You decide to make the decision one time so you never have to make it again. $60 means nothing to a fund manager. To you, it's the difference between a slightly tighter grocery week and never thinking about it at all. That's the part nobody tells you about the first $60. It was never about the return. It was about proving to yourself you could do it without it hurting. Your coworker, Dante, rides with you to job sites most mornings. He's not reckless. He's sharp, he's funny, everyone on the crew likes working with him. He just believes, reasonably, that a 26-year-old shouldn't be driving his mom's old Corolla forever. 8 months in, Dante finances a used Silverado, $495 a month for 6 years. You don't judge him for it. You just notice that his first real financial decision and yours are pointing in opposite directions. And neither of you knows yet how far apart those directions are going to take you. That spring, you meet Priya at a friend's barbecue. She's a dental hygienist, drives a 9-year-old Civic she jokes about like it's a pet, and doesn't flinch when you tell her your truck is older than some of her patients. You don't know it yet, but the plain, unembarrassed way she talks about money that afternoon is one of the reasons this whole story turns out the way it does. 2 years pass and nothing about your life looks different from the outside. Same truck, same boots. You get a raise, $3,600 a year. and instead of upgrading anything, you bump the automatic transfer to $130 a paycheck and let the rest disappear into ordinary life. Nobody at work knows you did this. There's nothing to announce. It was just another Tuesday when you changed one number in an app on your lunch break. This is the part of the story people skip because it's boring, and it's supposed to be boring. The market goes up a little, down a little. Your balance crosses $8,000, then $13,000 with no single dramatic day attached to either number. You put $180 a month toward a $2,700 credit card balance left over from a rough year at 22, until it's gone 11 months later. You don't tell anyone. You just stop seeing the notification. Dante, meanwhile, upgrades apartments, nicer complex, in-unit laundry, $1,550 instead of $1,050. Reasonable, on paper. He's making more too. You have dinner with him and his girlfriend, and it's a genuinely good night. He's not a cautionary tale. He's your friend, and he's happy. You don't think about your $130 transfer once the entire evening. That's the strange part of this stretch. Compounding and lifestyle creep look identical from the outside. Both of you are living decent, reasonable lives on decent, reasonable incomes. The difference is invisible for years, right up until it isn't. You and Priya move in together that fall, splitting a $1,300 two-bedroom. She has her own quiet savings habit built long before she met you. The first time you show her your investment account, not to impress her, but because you don't want secrets between you about money, she doesn't react the way you expect. She just nods and says, "Good, keep doing that." No performance, no surprise. It's one of the things you love about her. By 28, your account sits at $34,000. Outside of Priya, you've never told a single person the number. At 29, the market drops 21% in 5 months. You watch $7,100 disappear from your balance in a matter of weeks. Not on paper, in real numbers, you recognize as roughly 4 months of your old rent. Your hands actually shake a little the first time you check the app that week. This is the first real test. And it has nothing to do with math. You know intellectually that a drop isn't a loss until you sell. Knowing that and feeling calm about it turn out to be two completely different skills, and you find out that week you only have one of them. Priya finds you staring at your phone on the couch and asks what's wrong. You show her the number. She looks at it for a second and asks the only question that matters. Do you need that money in the next 5 years? No. Then it's not really your money right now. It's just a number on a Tuesday. You don't sell. You don't check the account for 12 days. When you finally do, it's recovered more than half of what it lost. Something in you settles that never fully unsettles again. That same year, you get promoted $54,000 to $67,000. A dealership email finds you on a Thursday afternoon, the kind that arrives the exact moment you're pre-approved for something. A 2023 Ford F-150, low miles, dark gray, $588 a month over 6 years. For the first time, the payment doesn't look impossible. You sit with the tab open for 9 minutes, doing the math on what $588 a month actually costs the transfer you've built over 5 years. You think about Ray's canvas jacket. You close the tab. Instead, you take $7,500 from savings and buy a 2016 Tacoma with 61,000 miles. A genuine upgrade from your old one, just not a loud one. Nobody on the crew notices you got a new truck. It looks almost exactly like the last one. You raise your monthly investment to $550. Your balance crosses $100,000 4 months after your 30th birthday on a Sunday morning, alone in the kitchen. And you feel almost nothing. You expected some kind of moment. There isn't one. You make coffee for 11 cents and go check the mail. That non-reaction is its own kind of information. At $7,100 lost, you panicked. At $100,000 total, you felt quiet. The number keeps getting bigger. The feeling keeps getting smaller. That's not numbness. That's what it feels like when something stops being an emergency and starts being a system. You run the numbers on the F-150 later, mostly out of curiosity. 6 years at $588 a month is over $42,000 before insurance, before depreciation, that starts the moment you sign. The Tacoma cost you $7,500 total, and you still own every mile of it. It was never close. What changed wasn't the arithmetic. You could have done that math at 23. What changed is that at 30, you actually believed it. At 33, something shifts that you don't notice until you trip over it by accident. You're filling out a mortgage pre-approval form with Priya, looking at a small house together. Nothing fancy, $295,000 in a decent, unglamorous neighborhood, and the lender asks for last year's investment income. You go digging for the form and find the number, $16,400 in dividends and gains. Realized without you contributing a single new dollar to make it happen. $16,400 is more than 4 months of your old rent from your first apartment. It arrived while you were on a job site, asleep, on vacation, arguing with your internet provider. You didn't earn it the way you're used to earning things. That's the crossover point. And like everything else in this story, it happens quietly. Ray dies that winter, heart failure, in his sleep at 76. At the funeral, your cousin, who inherits the canvas jacket, a joke that becomes strangely important later, mentions Ray left behind $290,000 split 4 ways. Nobody in the family had any idea. He drove that same truck until the day he died. Your share is $72,000. You don't buy anything with it. You put $25,000 toward the house down payment, and the rest goes into the same account it's always gone into. The one that grows quietly in the background while you live an ordinary life in the foreground. Filling out the paperwork, you finally understand the sentence Ray said to you 14 years earlier. It was never about the jacket. At 35, your supervisor offers you a regional operations role. $21,000 more a year, but weekend calls and a travel schedule most months under a director you don't particularly respect. 5 years earlier, you'd have said yes within the hour. Instead, you spend a weekend actually thinking about it with Priya, and you turn it down. Not dramatically. You just tell him you're happy where you are. He seems confused. You don't explain that your accounts alone could now cover your mortgage and bills for over 3 years without another paycheck. That's not information anyone at work needs. This is the part of the story that's easy to mistake for luxury. It isn't. Your house is still the $295,000 one. Your truck is still the paid-off Tacoma. Nothing visible has changed. What's changed is one quiet word underneath every decision. You're no longer choosing between bad options because you have to. You're choosing the option you actually want because you finally can. Your sister calls that winter. Her transmission died. $2,100 to fix. Money she doesn't have between paychecks. You send it that afternoon. No interest, no spreadsheet, no mention of it again unless she brings it up. It doesn't move your net worth in any way you'd notice. It moves something else. Dante, meanwhile, is doing fine. Better than fine, by most measures. New house, 2 truck payments, a promotion of his own. You have dinner again, and it's still a good night. Still your friend. But, somewhere in the conversation, he mentions being stressed about layoffs at his company. About what happens if the bonus structure changes. And you realize, without saying anything, that his entire life requires the paycheck to arrive exactly on schedule. Yours doesn't. Not anymore. You don't feel superior. You just feel the difference for the first time as something real instead of theoretical. Here's what nobody tells you about getting here. It gets quieter, and quiet isn't always comfortable. At 37, an old friend named Marcus, the one who always seemed like the successful one, corner office, boat, a house twice the size of yours, gets laid off in a round of cuts nobody saw coming. 3 weeks later, he calls you, and it's not a casual call. His mortgage is $3,900 a month. His boat payment is $540. His emergency fund, he admits quietly, almost like a confession, is about 5 weeks deep. He's not reckless. He's not stupid. He just built a life that required the income to never stop. And for 12 years, it never had to. You don't say anything about your own numbers. You just help him think through his options, the way anyone would for a friend, trimming the boat payment first, calling the mortgage lender before he misses anything. On the drive home, you notice something uncomfortable. You can't really talk to Marcus or Dante or most of your old friends about money anymore. Not because you look down on them, but because your relationship with it has gotten so different from theirs that the conversation doesn't land the same way for either of you. You've gained something. You've also quietly lost a kind of ease you used to have with people you love. You could, at this point, buy the F-150. You could buy several. Nobody would blink. And you find, strangely, that you don't want to. Not because you're still afraid of the payment, but because the boots and the 11-cent coffee and the old Tacoma aren't a disguise anymore. They're just who you actually are. Close. The callback. It's 5:50 on a different Monday morning, years later, and you're standing in the same kind of parking lot, in the same kind of boots, a little more worn now, resoled a third time. The Tacoma finally gave out 2 years ago. The truck in the lot today is another old one, bought the same way, in cash, without telling anyone. Your account, if you added everything up this morning, would cross $842,000. Nobody filling their tank next to you would guess it. That's still not an accident. You think about Ray sometimes standing in lots exactly like this one, paying in cash and never once looking impressed with himself. You understand now, he wasn't hiding anything. He wasn't performing modesty for anyone. He just decided, long before you were born, what enough looked like. And he never needed the world to confirm it for him. You didn't get here because you were smarter than Dante or unluckier than Marcus. You got here because you made one boring decision on a Tuesday night at 23. And then you made it again a few thousand more times until it stopped being a decision and started being who you are. The boots still cost about what they always did to resole. The coffee still costs 11 cents. The truck in the lot still looks like nothing in particular. But the person standing next to it is living in a completely different world than the one who stood here 14 years ago with $310 in checking, almost too afraid to add it up. Nobody in this parking lot knows any of that. That was always the point. If this changed the way you think about what wealth actually looks like, hit like and subscribe. There's more stories like this one coming, and I want to know. Is there someone in your life who taught you something about money without ever really saying much at all? Tell me about them in the comments.